Okay, part three, we'll talk about mushrooms and the spiritual community and how it works on an individual level and also on a global level. So for me, mushrooms sort of began when microdosing with friends and shit ton of fun, just small bits of mushrooms and giggling and laughing for hours. And as you go along, you always want to hold that vibe, so you take a bit more. And there's a bit of a progression where the deeper you go, the more you take, the more you become accustomed to the other side. So for a lot of people, they think death is all there is and it's over, but it's just your spirit leaving your body. So the mushrooms for me, as I progressed along the way, started teaching me and cleaning out my system on a cellular level. And as you get stronger, your DNA unlocks gifts, and gifts of psychic, seeing, music, speech, your voice. I mean, there are unlimited amounts of gifts which we should all tap into because they're trying to prevent us from understanding our unlimitedness. So, yeah, for me, the mushrooms, I kind of just kept going deeper and deeper. It was more of a intrigue for me. I was curious, and I do them by myself every new moon and full moon, and I cross over and talk to these spirits. Now, how it works with spiritual warfare in the physical realm, like the 3D, you punch each other, you fight, you lock each other up, that kind of thing. But in the spiritual world, like with the shamans and witches, what they do is they fight by sending spirits to each other. Now, this is very complex and it goes real deep, right up to the Vatican. I'll give you an example. Like the COVID, for example, was a global ritual. If you go back to the 2012 Olympics, you can see the photos and everything of witches coming out at a sporting event with like cots and doctors and masks. That was in 2012. So when the COVID was released, it became very obvious who was under the spell and who wasn't, because although we were all told to wear masks, not everyone did. So those that did and are still doing are under the spell unknowingly. And everyone else has woken up somewhat a little bit more. So it's just increasing your awareness and understanding that this is a crock of shit. Now, on a micro level, individually, this is how the shamans fight each other. So the tribes back in 7,000 years ago, they were heavy into witchcraft, and what they do is they send spirits, and just think of it like a ghost that comes and just wreaks havoc on your mind, so you doubt yourself, and in turn you lose opportunities. And businesses do this internationally. I mean, it's a huge system. Haiti, Cuba, everyone's got their own magic. The Jews have got Kabbalah, and you've got voodoo and what have you. So it's all interconnected. And the ancients in Egypt used mushrooms, the priests, the high priests and stuff, and they used to use that for medicine and helping alleviate sort of disease and problems. But it's also got its dark factor as well, where people send other people, entities to fuck with them, to mess with them. And it's heavy shit. It's been touched on in the movies a little bit, with Eyes Wide Shut. And it's supposed to be hush hush. And that's how the control system actually works behind the scenes. Everyone only sees the organizations and the brands and in the fashion industry and Hollywood and what have you, and it's all interconnected with this dark magic. And they're basically just giant spells. So on the micro level, as I was saying, with the shamans, they attack their enemies by sending these spirits, and it's connected with harvesting energy. As I've said to you before, the new currency, or the currency that's always been there, is energy, and how much energy you have determines how much you can create and what you can do. And so for Disney and those organisations, they round up all the new children, and this is where the child trafficking comes in, and they figure out who are these children have a lot of energy. And connected with this is the psychic tarot reading. They can actually figure out what people's destinies are and what is in their future. So they target these individuals and they lock them into contracts. And what they're doing once they're locked into the contract, they're actually taking over the creative authority of that person and everything connected to their success and destiny. And although that person might get, $100 million and they're happy with that, that's fine. But the company above it is actually an umbrella company that controls and manipulates. And that's why Hollywood, when the COVID came out, that none of them were able to speak because they're under contract. Therefore, the company controlling all these artists, it's what they say, and they happen to be evil. But it's it's a pretty heavy industry, and that's why they call it the industry. So when they harvest your energy, they're tying up your future, and connected with that is destiny swapping. And I'll give you an example. Aaliyah and Beyonce, she was sacrificed, and all her gifts and her destiny was stolen, and taken over by Beyonce. And they can live out that in this lifetime. However, the karma connected to it, you can't run from. So in their next life, they'll have to pay that back. And this is also connected to generational curses, where a family or a bloodline can have such a heavy spell put over them that their children and their children's children are constantly going in cycles, and just they're in a loop of like destruction, alcoholism, drugs, promiscuity, all that kind of thing, and they can't get out until the spell is broken. And all of this stuff is now coming to the surface, and they're going to have to introduce new laws for this kind of shit, because it's rampant. And if you can get 4 or 5 people that are gifted in these practices, and you get them together, which is what you call a coven of witches, they're alive and kicking. And they can do light work or they can do dark work, depending on who's paying and what needs to be done. So for me, the mushrooms was just a self-exploration, where I was just cleaning myself out, and all my past issues and stuff, like ayahuasca, just gets revealed to you, so you can deal with the emotion. And that's the block. It's the emotion tangled up with the trauma that you don't want to face, that's locked in your cells and your memory cells. And you have to revisit those situations, no matter how big or traumatic they are, so that you can feel that and choose to let it go. And then your vibration gets higher. You get cleaner, shall we say. And crying is a really excellent way to transmute negative energy. Anger is another good one, because you can choose to use that constructively or destructively. So yeah, for me, the mushrooms has been quite an exciting journey, because you never know what you're going to get. And I've got to a point now where I've opened up certain gifts and being provided with different, I don't know, what would you say, songs. They call them akaros, the shamans in the jungle, and they're connected to the plants. And those songs themselves clear out and reprogram your DNA and fix the holes that you've put in your aura. And now the holes come about from drinking and smoking drugs and all that kind of thing. And the holes allow these entities to come inside you, and they wreak havoc, because they're playing with your brain. They're playing with your thoughts. They're telling you, you want this and you want that, and you need to do this, and they trigger your emotions to guide you, to almost like force you into doing things you don't want to do. and it's connected to the endorphins and what have you that are in your body at the time that are released. So yeah, it's pretty full on. This is a lot of information, and they will not like me putting this out because they've had control for so many decades, centuries of this system, and their families and organizations are all connected to it. Epstein is probably the biggest one because that's connected to the macro level, the global it's Israeli Mossad blackmail operation, so that they control politicians and celebrities. And it's so big, and I'm not anti-Semitic or anything, but the Jews were the ones that killed JFK. They're the ones that orchestrated 9/11. They're the ones behind the COVID. And you only have to research a few of the names, which are all Jewish. Silverstein orchestrated 9/11. He made $6 billion in insurance on that one. And Pfizer, which, naturally produces vaccines, so they were in on it. Yeah, this is a lot of information. The sirens are going. So, yeah, they're responsible, and if they really let out who killed JFK and what Epstein was up to and what's happening in Palestine, it all points in one direction. And as uncomfortable as it may be, we have to face the facts. And this is all connected to World War II with Hitler, and what he discovered when the Bolsheviks, the Jews, which were following Karl Marx, another Jew, his Communist Manifesto, and they massacred the Tsar royal family in Russia, and then were heading up to Germany, and that's when Hitler came to power and said, this is not going to happen. And because the Jews created in the same year, in 1917, the Russian Revolution, they created the Pulitzer World Journalism. They then were able to control the narrative through the years, up until the Holocaust, which is rather questionable, a hard pill to swallow, but didn't happen like it's been printed. And that's all due to Pulitzer. So there are others, in 1913, 4 years before that, that's when America was incorporated into a business. It wasn't a country anymore, because the Rothschilds, another Ashkenazi Jew family, they pressured Woodrow Wilson into handing over and creating the Federal Reserve Bank, the money supply. And this has all come crashing down since Trump's got into power. So you can see how big this is, the money involved and the countries involved. And the same thing goes in New Zealand. They're fully controlled, the media, everything, by these same people. And so back to the mushrooms. There are different strands of mushrooms. It doesn't really matter what you work with. I've found that golden teachers are pretty good visually. You get to see a bit more what's going on. I've also done quite a bit of work with these little, I call them Smurf bones, but they're actually called penis envy in the street, and they're pretty strong. And I've shown you in previous videos some of the gifts that I've been given, which enables me to heal and clear chakras, their sounds, and it's really powerful shit. And not too much. I'm not sure how much I can actually share of you with this until they let me know what the next steps are. But so for my healing journey, this has been like the last 8 years, the mushrooms, maybe 6 years, and only in the last 5 have I really gone hard, because the entities and the beings on the other side, they got me committed to celibacy and not eating red meat, training, and certain diet, and no drinking and what have you, and that just sped everything up. And it's enabled me to reclaim my power. It's allowed my crown chakra to open, which allows me to psychically understand and see a lot more than most. It's changed my voice along the way, different sounds. You can actually reprogram your DNA with this kind of work. It's unlimited, and they don't want anyone knowing about this shit. And I just happened to take this path, I guess because I was curious, and it just got deeper and deeper. And then you discover that these were the kind of things that I was doing in the past, in past lives. So a lot of this information comes back to you. And once you reclaim that, your vibration's so high that the magic that people send to you, the magic that people try to send to you, it all gets blocked. And there are many ways to block and neutralize a lot of the attacks, and it's not for everyone. Everyone's at their different level. Like for example, with ayahuasca, it'll call you. I don't suggest you go out and go and dump yourself in it, because it'll be really traumatic. But when you've come to a place where you're like, I want to try it, I'm open to it, then that's the time. And with the mushrooms, I mean, they are so medicinal. I think the oldest spirit or life form on Earth is fungus. And everything that's alive and growing in the world has a spirit. And it's just a matter of connecting with your own spirit so that you can become spiritual and connect with what we call God, Source, the Creator. Because God, Source, the Creator is in everything. It's like putting yourself under the ocean, and everything under the ocean and everything in between, every cell under the ocean is all connected. And that's what God or Source is. And this whole Earth School is about, it's just about evolution. It's about growing. It's about learning. And we're here to have fun and experience it. And everyone's at their own point when they're ready to learn and grow a bit further. Some people come back with a lot of karmic debt from fucking around in their past lives, and they find themselves depressed in this life, and it'll just get to the point where it's just too much, and the decision has to be made to turn around, and then the process begins. So everything that goes down must come up. And I've met a lot of friends along the way in the earlier parts of my life. Those were the people I was meeting, because I'd been just like that in the past. But this life, I chose a different path. I chose to grow. And that broke everything from my past. And generational curses. So I know now, with no karmic debt, that my children won't have to deal with anything that I've dealt with. I can just feed them, shelter them, and they'll just grow. You don't have to teach them anything. It's like a flower. It's already programmed within them. They just grow up. And if he's going to be a drug dealer or a fucking doctor, that's nothing to do with me. That's his path, her path. So a lot of parents, to help you understand what a generational curse is, they're trying to teach their children how to do things, but that's just how you learned. Yes, I think it's important to show them what respect is and integrity and those core attributes, but ultimately they will choose to do what they do depending on what's programmed and what their blueprint is and how far along they are on their spiritual journey. So yeah, it's understand that the world, and when they speak of people being born equal, it's a crock of shit. People are not born equal, and with regard to the vessel that they're in, yeah, okay, we can all touch, feel and see kind of shit, but as far as what's within that person, it's not equal. Some people are born with gifts that are, you can see it already, like musicians, Rihanna, some people with voices that are just mind-blowing, and they've obviously come in to do that, to help people or inspire people, and they're probably a lot further along spiritually than most. And that's why the war began with the Jews and everything, because they want to control that creative aspect, that creative element, with the creation of contracts and entities. I mean, understand, like, a company is an entity. You follow? So this is the world we're moving into. The information's always been there, but it's now just being released because they can't stop it. It's like a boat with a million holes in it. There's nothing they can do about it. And they keep doing more magic, and they keep trying to brainwash and distract you with all this bullshit. And you have to turn away. You can't focus on the news or the media that they're telling you, they're spewing you, because it's all manipulation, the whole fucking lot. And the real people, the authentic ones, the spiritual teachers, the guides, they're all there, man. The information's all there. Buddhism, the Bible. I'm not sure about the Talmud. The Talmud is probably the most evil text on the planet. There's like 37 volumes, I think. And it speaks of the opposite of what the Bible is, shall we say. So spirituality naturally trumps all the religions because it connects you directly with the Creator. And it's just a matter of listening and spending time in solitude that you start hearing and seeing. And at this point in time in the world, the synchronicities, which everyone catch on to, 111 or 777 or 1111, this kind of thing, it's just a little door coaching you forward to look a little deeper and trust your intuition, and then relating those coincidences to what's happening in your world so you can make intuitive decisions, which allows you to follow your heart as opposed to your mind. Your mind says, take this job, it's good money. But your heart's saying, start this business because it feels good. What do? You follow your mind and you live like a slave, working in a business for someone else, or you start your own thing and kick ass. So yeah, that's today's little rant. Until next time.